Welcome to the No Guts, No Galaxy podcast number 194. Today is Monday, February 10th, 2020. Support for this podcast is brought to you by our patrons and Twitch subscribers. Your support is ever appreciated and keeps the content on the air. Would you like to support the podcast? Become a Twitch sub today at twitch.tv/NGNGTV or find out more about becoming a patron of the podcast at patreon.com/NoGutsNoGalaxy. Great to see you all here. Appreciate you being here. And all of you out there that will be watching this or listening to this later on YouTube or SoundCloud, welcome. I almost skipped doing today's podcast because I have a big guest on Wednesday's podcast, Elias Defexis, and I'm a little bit nervous about it. Not about him particularly. I met him at MechCon, hung out with him, and was super comfortable with him, but more that, he's a big opportunity that he, agreed to be on the podcast, and I just want to make sure I do it right. So I'm doing research and so forth. But anyway, very much looking forward to that. But I wanted to stick to my schedule. I was also concerned I didn't have enough content to talk about, but we'll see. So far, I'm enjoying doing a Monday and Wednesday podcast. So hopefully we'll continue doing that. As regular, before we get into news about games like Mechwarrior 5 and Mechwarrior Online and BattleTech and so forth, going to give you a little bit of info about what's going on with me in my life. Keep you guys updated every week. Our move-in date to our new house is still March 1st. So right now we're kind of in this half-packed here and kind of getting things ready to move. It's a weird transition state for living, but it is what it is. Got to do what we got to do. So we will be in a new space March 1st. Actually, a few days before that, we'll be moving in, and this space right here will literally probably be the last thing to move. I think very familiar with what Phil's doing. I know he's got his new space, but I think his office will probably be the last thing to be moved too, which makes sense, right? If we're sitting here streaming and doing content every day, it's hard to tear down the computers and so forth. So you want to wait until everything's set up, internet and all that stuff. I just hope I can, everything will meet moving, setting up, internet being turned on, working correctly, etc. I have been continuing doing the podcast. I'm doing the podcast, like I said, Mondays and Wednesdays. Mondays are just a short podcast with just myself, unless something happens and I feel like having a guest on or whatever. And then Wednesdays are going to be my primarily a guest podcast, whether that's like Elias Defexis, an actor, or devs from Piranha or Hairbrained or anywhere else. That'll be my guest day. So hopefully I'll be able to maintain both of those. I think I will. I've been enjoying it. Like I said, it's great to be doing podcasts again and being creative. And I've been streaming pretty much daily games, mostly MechWarrior 5, but a little MWO. And so I did take Sunday off, but I streamed on Saturday. I did my, the RP night with Aces Wild, Operation Damsel on Saturday night. And then I think I did a little MWO as well. But anyway, I'll be continuing that. I'll probably be doing a little more streaming tonight. And then, of course, I'll be streaming tomorrow. I am continuing down the path of doing some voiceover work. I've got some equipment on the way. Obviously I have contacts within the industry and voiceover people, whether at studios or other voiceover and voice acting artists. So hopefully I can get that rolling a little bit more. I have done, like I mentioned last week, a couple of professional voiceover jobs. I'd love to do a lot more. I love talking. I love microphones. I love recording, editing, all that stuff. So hopefully I can get that rolling as soon as we're set up in the new space and I get my little voiceover studio set up. Funny thing about the new house, though, I realized last time we were there, is it's really close to an airport, a small plane airport, but there's a lot of planes, so I don't know how that's going to factor into podcasts and so forth. A little bit nervous about that. Might have to incorporate planes into, I don't know, maybe I'll make like a plane emote or something like that, and every time planes fly over, you guys can emote it up. We'll see what happens. I don't know how frequent it's going to be, but other than that, it's a pretty quiet neighborhood. So we'll see. I'm also continuing I mentioned a 6-month web development and JavaScript online bootcamp. I'm doing that at nights. I've got that local mentor helping me kind of guide me through the process. So I'm kind of doing that as like a backup plan And then I am continuing to pursue the boating podcast. I've told a lot of you I have a major passion for boating. And so we had a meeting actually with somebody recently this last week. And there's potential funding and support financially for the podcast. And we haven't even launched it yet. So I'm very excited about that. We'll see how that goes. I'm basically what I'm doing is filling my time as much as possible, working my ass off, trying to create as much content and see what happens, see what you guys are enjoying. Everybody showing up, good to see you. And then finally, there is actually a game dev job in Seattle that I have applied for. So I have no idea what's going to happen with that. And I just I submitted my stuff, and we'll see what happens. I have some pretty decent references. I have, the heads of 2 studios that are references, and so and I'm very qualified. So we'll see what happens. I'm not counting on it, but another steady paycheck would be nice. But of course, I want to continue doing the podcasting and voiceover and streaming and so forth as well. So that's what's going on with me right now as far as employment and what I'm doing. A lot of my time right now is going into moving and everything that's involved there. Packing and canceling everything here, starting it up over there, and the other thing is we get to have a dog. I think I told you guys that last week. We're very, very excited about that. We've been waiting years to get a dog again. I lost my buddy Max about 4 years ago, and I've been ready, as well as the rest of my family. We're very ready for it. So moving into my schedule, as I mentioned last time, this next month or two, my schedule is going to be a little sporadic because of the moving and so forth. So please bear with me as I kind of find the right schedule for what I'm doing. And obviously things will pick up after we've moved and don't have all of that stuff to do. So basically what I'm doing is podcasting, like I said, on Monday and Wednesday, and then I'll be streaming Monday through Friday and sometimes Saturday, like I did this last weekend. Actually, probably most Saturdays if Aces Wild continues doing the role playing on Saturday nights. And then, I think I might also add some other Aces Wild events. Like they just started this last Sunday doing basically Solaris Sundays, and it was a big success. So if you're into doing Solaris with a unit and having people in the queue and so forth, be sure to check that out. You can ! Aces in chat right now if you want their information. I highly recommend it. Good guys, a lot of fun. Moving on to like entertainment and what I'm looking at right now, watching, reading, whatever. Not a lot has changed from last week. I'm still watching The Witcher, which I'm enjoying. And let's see, I think we're caught up on Picard. So episode 3, that's starting to get a little bit better. It started off slow, but not in a bad way. I felt like it was good character, progression, getting to know the characters and so forth. So I'm enjoying both Picard and Witcher right now. Haven't really seen any movies lately, but I do think the Oscars were yesterday. I'm not a big awards show type person. I don't watch, the Golden Globes or the Oscars or the Grammys or anything like that. I used to when I was a kid, but, don't really watch those anymore. But I did, let's see, 2 things I took away from social media. Basically told me Eminem played his song. What was that song that he did a long time ago? Lose Yourself, right? Is that it? Yeah, I think it was Lose Yourself. Anyway, I guess he played that. I don't know. He won an Oscar for it, right? A bunch of years ago. And then the what was the movie? Parasite, right? Took all the awards, or a lot of the awards. 4 awards or something like that. I haven't seen Parasite, but I don't know anything about it either, so please no spoilers. I think I'm just going to watch that one. It's got to be a decent movie. And I'm not going to know anything about it going in. I haven't seen a trailer. I haven't heard anybody talk about it. So I'm kind of excited about that. It's been a long time since I've watched a movie and, basically started it knowing absolutely nothing. I did see some rude comments on Twitter. Imagine that, right? Saying stuff like it was un-American, that I guess the director or the writer or the movie is Korean or something like that. I thought that was kind of lame, but anyway, I feel like America's all about opportunities for everybody. But anyway, I'm excited to see it. I think it's going to be a good movie. So there's a movie that's on my to-do list, and maybe by next week, I'll be able to talk about that without spoiling it for anybody else that hasn't seen it. So looking forward to that. Books. What have I been reading? Books. I've been reading a lot of basically trade and industry books on podcasting, streaming, voiceover, and anything I'm interested in, boats and so forth. But I'm reading like 4 or 5 books at the same time. So I kind of read a little bit, whatever I feel like reading at the time. But nothing that you guys would probably be interested in right now. The games that I've been playing lately, obviously I've been playing a lot of MechWarrior 5, having a lot of fun with the mods, and I'll get into that in a second. Been playing some MWO, especially like Group Night Fridays is a lot of fun. I did miss it this last Friday, but those Group Night Fridays are great because they do fill up the group queue. I am looking to get into some faction warfare, so we'll see how that goes. And then as far as, I want to get some BattleTech in as well. I saw Phil was playing some BattleTech using a different mod. I'm not familiar with that mod, but I will probably check it out or check out what the mod scene is like for BattleTech and continue the adventures of Bombardiers on there, as well as MechWarrior 5. And then I'm also playing some Elite Dangerous. I got back into that again, which I seem to do like every 6 months or so. I get back into Elite, check out all the new stuff, and have a good time with it. It's a beautiful game, and I'm having fun. And a lot of friends are playing it right now, including Aces. Aces Wild. To answer a few questions, people looking for Phil in chat. Phil is over on his own channel now. It's twitch.tv/Tiny Terrier, one word. Phil is doing well and doing very well at streaming, and he's moving into a new house as well. He and I are, of course, remaining buddies, and I support everything that he's doing, full bore. So if you want to see Phil, you can just go down in my channel description here, and you can get a direct link to what he's doing. But I definitely recommend, if you've been a fan of Phil's, to continue checking him out over there and supporting him. And then this week's Spotlight, I mentioned last week, I'm going to spotlight some people every week. If I can find people to spotlight. And this week I am spotlighting some MechWarrior 5 modders. I don't know the whole modding scene inside and out, but I do know some people from the community that I've known for a while that are working on mods. So I want to basically shout out to David, Honey Pepper, and Corsair specifically. They're doing some incredible mod work. And Corsair's been, he got my logo in. He says it's not a big deal, and I'm sure maybe as compared to some mods it's not, but it was still nice, and I don't have the time to do it. So this is basically a shout out to everybody that's modding for MechWarrior 5 right now. You guys are doing God's work. I love, there's something like 60 mods over there right now. And it's just exploding and growing. And when they open up more tools for the modding, it's going to be even better. So all of you that are modding MechWarrior 5 and BattleTech and everything, you guys are doing amazing work. And this spotlight is dedicated to you guys. Totally appreciate it. Will this channel still be doing MechWarrior and MechWarrior Online and so forth? Yes, absolutely. I've been a fan of BattleTech since 1984, as I've told many of you. So this is, this summer was 35 years of BattleTech and MechWarrior for me. It's not going anywhere. I love, the franchise. I always have, and I always will. So it's not going anywhere. No Guts, No Galaxy. That's where the phrase No Guts, No Galaxy is from, and it will remain a part of our content. So moving on, as I mentioned, the guest for this Wednesday, so that's 2 days, that's the 12th, is going to be Elias Defexis. He's an actor, motion capture artist. He's a voice actor. You've seen him in The Expanse, Star Trek Discovery, in games like Deus Ex, Assassin's Creed, BattleTech, MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries. If you go to his IMDb, the list is endless. He's a super involved actor, super awesome guy. Got to hang out with him at the last MechCon, and so I'm very much looking forward to that podcast. That's this Wednesday. Now let's move into, as I mentioned, MechWarrior and BattleTech. So MechWarrior 5 is the game that I am playing the most right now, which makes sense, right? It's the newest game, and it's got a bunch of new mods coming out all the time. So that is where my time is primarily spent as far as gaming right now, and specifically MechWarrior and BattleTech. As I mentioned in the last podcast, there was a patch on January 24th and a developer update on January 30th. I'm not going to go into the details on that because I covered it in the last podcast, but if you want to, you can go check those out. The big thing for me this week with MechWarrior 5, just like I said in my spotlight, is really the mods. As I mentioned, there's over 60 mods on Nexus already. I don't know if there's another way that people are sharing mods, so I don't know if there's more than that. But on Nexus, which is what I use and have used for a lot of games, there's over 60 mods already. And so I just wanted to kind of highlight some of the mods that are new this week, and then some of the mods that I'm using. So new this week, there's an armor and structure scaled mod. There's a heat sink scaled mod and a jump jets scaled by weight class mod. Those, I believe, were all done by the same person. I think that's just adjusting basically armor and structure, heat sink, efficiency, and jump jet efficiency. I don't know if it makes, if it's making the game easier or not. I didn't really jump into details on those 3 mods, or really any of the new mods this week. As far as what they do, I tend to not want to use any mods that makes the game easier, right? Because it's already fairly easy, especially when you have a lance full of human players. So I haven't adopted any of the mods that make the gameplay easier. And I don't know specifically if those 3 do. But you can check those out at Nexus. Just Google Nexus with 1 S and MechWarrior 5, and you'll find their mod list. There's cheaper traveling costs. So, again, I kind of lumped that into easier. And then there's Mech Lab detail view by default. So if any of you've gotten to the Mech Lab and you had to, do the little switch up at the top, the toggle for weapons only or detail, then it just automatically goes to detail by default. I kind of like that because I don't really tend to use the weapon only one. So I might incorporate that one soon. Faster mechs. That sounds like an easier thing. Maybe people are a little impatient with the big maps. I'm not one of those people. I love big maps. It goes back to even like, MechWarrior Living Legend days. Those maps, some of them were enormous. I loved it. I like travel time. I like to be able to talk with the people I'm playing with when we're getting to our objective, whatever it is. I don't have a problem. I'm not impatient with the size of the maps or the speed of the mechs, unless I'm in an Annihilator, and that's why I don't pilot Annihilators. Improved laser beams, that's new, and I'm using it. I think that was David did that one. Basically, if you've noticed, the laser beams by default are kind of, they're not very solid. You can see they're kind of, Swiss cheesy or whatever. You can see through the laser beams. So these kind of bring them back to like Mechwarrior Online style, where there's more solid laser beams. I like it. You can see them easier, and I just kind of like the look a little bit better. It's not that I didn't like it before, but if I put them side by side and compare them, I like the improved laser beams app. But the interesting thing is, I was streaming it the other day, and I had that installed, improved laser beams, and in my game, my client watching my teammates, when he fired his lasers, the mod wasn't affecting his lasers, but when I fired mine, it was affecting mine. I do have, because I'm, a bit of a simpleton, I do have a little bit of confusion on how the mods work as far as when you're playing with other real players, which ones will work with them, which ones won't. Do they have to have all the same mods, etc.? I don't know the answer to that. I'm not a technically minded person when it comes to modding games, but I thought that was interesting. His laser beams had the old model, basically, and mine were the improved laser beams. Improved. Maybe they're not improved for everybody, but that's what the mod's called. Also, a new one this week is expanded weapon tooltips. So I assume that's, you mouse over a weapon and it gives you more of a detailed description of what the weapon is, what it does, etc. And then OP heavy weapon variants. This sounded like another mod that made the game easier, so I probably won't be using it. I think I just did a brief read of the description. I think it makes heavy weapons more OP, hence the name of the mod. I don't feel like that's necessary unless we get a mod in there that makes the enemies more difficult or something to balance it out. Real quick, I'll talk about the mods that I am using currently. Number one, I'm not currently using any HUD enhancements from Navid or Honey Pepper or any of the other ones. And the reason why was because I like the paper doll, the orientation of the paper doll, like it is by default in MechWarrior 5, in that when the paper doll down in my left-hand corner is facing me, I want its right arm to be to my left. And so that would be designated as the mech's right, and its left would be on my right, right? Because the mech is facing me. So I know this is a topic of contention. I think it's fairly divided right down the middle is how people prefer it. Some people prefer it so that it's like MWO, where the paper doll is facing you, but the right is on your right and the left is on your left. Whatever, personal preference. I'm never going to judge anybody or get on anybody's case about it. But my personal preference is the new way. It just is easier for my mind to work with. And so I just heard from Honey Pepper that she did put a toggle in there. Is that correct, Honey Pepper? It's a toggle that makes it so you can have the paper doll facing, or orientation whichever way you want. The default way that comes in MechWarrior 5 and or the way that it's in Mechwarrior Online, or a lot of the HUD updates are doing it. So basically, I'm very excited about that, because now that was really the only thing that was keeping me from using one of the enhanced HUDs or improved HUDs or modified HUDs. Was I liked almost everything else about it, but I wasn't willing to install it if it messed up the paper doll, because I'm used to it that way now and I want to keep it that way. So I'm very excited about that. It's cool because these people that are putting out good mods continue to work on their mods and improve them and put more options and so forth. I know that David is putting some toggles in there. I forgot on what options, but Phil was mentioning that on one of his streams. So I'm, like I said, this podcast really is about highlighting the mods. I'm super stoked about what's coming out and what is to come as modding becomes, as they open up more files that can be modded, as the modding tool is improved. It's going to be pretty awesome. Let's see. Other mods I'm using right now. So, Honey Pepper, I am going to try yours. And thank you for doing that on behalf of myself and other people that are right or wrong-minded, whatever your point of view is. I'm using Realistic Weapon Velocities mod. Now, this could be argued that this one does make the game easier for me. I'm using, by the way, somebody asked what variant I'm using. There's two different variants. I'm using the 203 millimeter version. And yes, I have to kind of go back on what I said, because I think this might make the game a tiny bit easier. I don't know, because the weapons shoot faster, right? But I like that because of immersion. And so, yeah, I might have been a little bit dishonest in saying I wasn't using any mods that make the game easier. Maybe that one does, probably does, because the weapons shoot a little faster, certain weapons. But anyway, I like it because of immersion. I've always had a weird feeling about, cannons and autocannons and so forth, shooting so slow that you could basically track the whole trajectory of the shell or whatever. It's not realistic, and it was always weird. I understood it from a gameplay perspective or a game balance perspective, but I do prefer the Realistic Weapon Velocities mod. I did use a 203 millimeter version because I felt like that was maybe a little bit slower than the smaller millimeter version. Maybe I'm wrong, but anyway, I'm happy with it. I'm also using the paint theme saving mod, which is awesome. If you like quality of life improvements, it makes it so that if you have a particular paint scheme, including the pattern and the three colors, the primary, secondary, and tertiary, you can save it. And then it goes to the top of your patterns list, and whenever you want to apply it, you can apply it. I have like 3 saved right now because I have my Bombadil's Bombardiers colors, the same colors as NGNG, the black, gold, and white. And then I also have 2 Aces Wild colors and camo patterns. So it's perfect, you don't have to keep going. So can you tell me those color numbers again? And 0, 0, F. Nope, you don't have to do that. And I know I was driving people crazy asking over and over again. So now finally I can save it. It's there. Use it. If you have your friends unit, that their particular colors, whatever your reasons, you can save them. And I think that's a huge quality of life improvement. Custom unit logo. Thanks again, Corsair, for that. I've got Bombardier's logo on my dropship, and when you go to save games and so forth, you can see it there. So my mug, this right here, is painted on the side of and top of my dropship. So thank you, Corsair, and I apologize to everyone who has to see my mug flying by every time I stream. But anyway, I like that one a lot. I'm using the MechWarrior 5 Inverse Kinematics for Legs mod, so that makes it so if you're, standing on the side of a mountain, your legs adjust accordingly, or a hill or whatever, or a rock. Again, immersion, right? I'm using that, and I'm using, as I mentioned before, the new one, improved laser beams, and finally, I'm using stronger arms. And now I haven't applied stronger arms yet, but so here's the deal with stronger arms. It doesn't add armor, tonnage, or points, but it brings your arms up to the same armor potential as your side torsos. So if you're running those blackjacks, riflemen, whatever, or you're centurion, and you want to put more armor in your arms, you can, but obviously you're going to lose those armor tonnage, those armor points from somewhere else on your mech, whether it's the legs or the torsos or whatever. So I am those are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, I'm using 6 mods currently, and I'm probably going to add a 7th soon with Honey Pepper's HUD enhancement, and see what that's like. So that's it for Mech 5 Mercenaries this week. Moving into Mechwarrior Online. There's not a lot to say about Mechwarrior Online currently. There was a patch on January 28th. I went into a little bit of detail on that in the last podcast, so you can check that out if you want to. But Solaris 7 Season 8 kickoff did start. That lasts for this entire month, and it's an event. Basically, you can earn rewards when you're running your 1v1s and your 2v2s. So check it out if you're into Solaris. One thing I'll say about Solaris is that I'm going to be probably running, like I mentioned earlier, Solaris Sundays with Aces Wild. That does start at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. It's always more fun to run Solaris when you have other people in the queue, and you can get matches regularly and so forth. So again, if you're interested, !Aces in chat, and you can check them out. Great unit. I love those guys. I've known them for many, many years, as I've mentioned before several times. So if you're looking for a reason to do some Solaris, maybe you want to check them out. Don't have a lot to say about HBS's BattleTech other than I will be playing that, adding that to my rotation as well soon. I want to check out some of the mods. I have not played any BattleTech mods. So not Rogue Tech, not anything that's out there. I've been playing vanilla every time I've played it. So I think it's time for me to jump into the mod pond with Harebrained Schemes BattleTech as well. So I will be adding that to my rotation, like I mentioned, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. I want to check out those mods for sure. And then finally, Catalyst Game Labs BattleTech. They did have a project update number 88. If you are a backer, a Kickstarter backer, you'll be getting those in the email, or you can go to their Kickstarter page and you can read all about it. But basically, they did a Heavy Lance Heavy Lance redesign sketches. So they sketched up some mechs for a Heavy Lance, which included the Hatchetman, the Centurion, the Grasshopper, and the Banshee. Pretty cool drawings. In fact, I'll see. Can I link this to you? Yeah, I'll link this to you guys in chat because it is worth seeing if you haven't already. There it is. So I like everything that's coming from Catalyst, all the new artwork, the dice, the games, the minis, everything. It's fun, the fiction. So hopefully we'll be getting our box sets soon, and we can continue talking about Catalyst BattleTech. I really, like I've said before, I really want to figure out a way to work in a tabletop stream as well, but just logistically it's difficult. That's why Phil and I never did it, but who knows. I've been talking to people about Megamech, so maybe I'll be incorporating some Megamech into my streams. Might be a little slow for some of you first-person shooter people, but it's basically tabletop on the computer. So I might do that. I'm talking to a few people about it, and we'll see. But anyway, that is going to be it for today's podcast. Like I mentioned before, this is a quick one. I'm going to do every Monday, talk about what's going on in my life, talk about what's going on in the games I love, and then we'll be here again Wednesday. This Wednesday, it's going to be Elias Tefexis as my guest. I'm very much looking forward to it. He's an awesome guy. He's a absolute true BattleTech and MechWarrior fan. He basically talked himself into being a voice actor on both of these titles. And he's been playing for a long time. So I'm very much looking forward to talking to him about that, as well as, just his life in general. He's a very interesting guy. He lives down in Hollywood or the LA area near Hollywood, and just is very plugged in to the whole acting scene and voice acting. And it's going to be a good podcast. I'm looking forward to it. So I hope you guys join in, listen, and check out that podcast when it's out. So that is it for today. I'll be back Wednesday and then again the following Monday. But of course, I'll be streaming some probably MechWarrior 5 or some other things tomorrow. Hope you guys join me. Thank you again for hanging out. Totally appreciate you guys being here. I'm having a great time doing the podcast again and getting to be creative. And, obviously I like to talk a lot. So thank you for allowing me to bend your ear for a little bit. This podcast is supported by you, the viewer. Please consider supporting us in the following ways. You can subscribe to our Twitch channel here at twitch.tv/NGNGTV. You can become a podcast patron at patreon.com/NoGutsNoGalaxy. You can shop on Amazon using our affiliate link down below here or on our website at NoGutsNoGalaxy.net. Doesn't add anything to the price of what you're getting, but it does give us a little kickback as a way to support without having to give us any money directly. And you can also shop our new merch store featuring our new NGNG logo at NoGutsNoGalaxyStore.com. It's got things like this No Guts No Galaxy mouse pad. It's got the sticker. It's got our little coffee mug. I say little because it is, but maybe some of you prefer normal sized coffee mugs. I like the bigger ones. See the difference here? This is the difference between what I use and what a normal quote-unquote coffee mug is. But anyway, we've got the coffee mugs there. We've got our t-shirts. We've got hoodies. Everything you buy supports the podcast, supports what I'm doing, and keeps me rolling. So appreciate everything you guys are doing out there. Thank you for being here. Be sure to check out the website at NoGutsNoGalaxy.net. Check us out on Twitch at NGNGTV. Check us out on YouTube at NoGutsNoGalaxy TV. Twitter at NoGutsNoGalaxy. Facebook at NoGutsNoGalaxy Podcast. And SoundCloud at NoGutsNoGalaxy. This was your local No Guts No Galaxy MechWarrior podcast. Signing off for tonight, this is Daeron. And until next time, MechWarriors, peace. You guys rock. You always rock. Love you all. See you next time.